So today I'm talking about intention and intentional living and why I think it's so important in our lives. So I guess we should first just start with what the definition of intention actually means. So if you look it up in a dictionary, it means to bring about or to want to make something actually happen. Example would be, I intend to build myself a house in the next few years, and I will do the things necessary in order to make that idea actually come true. So that's the definition. But to me, intention is about more than that. I think that being intentional first starts with really knowing who you are and what you truly want out of life, and then directing your energy in ways that you can actually achieve those goals. In order to act with intention, in my mind, you need to know what brings you joy and remove any kind of outside influence so that you can make what you actually want come true. And let's just call that having clarity. I think that having clarity is essential to intentional living. I think it's a missed step for a lot of us in our lives. If you don't have clarity for what you really want, how can you live intentionally to get those things, in my mind? I would even go so far as to say that if you don't have clarity, then when you act, you're actually not acting, you're just reacting to situations, to what other people want you to do, to outside influence in general. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to live my life based on what other people want for me, what I think that I want based on the situations that I might find myself in, and without a true, clear picture of what actually makes me happy. So here's an example I would use to show reaction versus actual action. So say you're taking holiday pictures and you're taking pictures with your dog, and you show them to your sister. Your sister doesn't like dogs. So she says to you, I don't like those pictures. I think you should leave the dog out and take other pictures. Now, if you cared about what your sister thought, you might say, oh, maybe those aren't good pictures. And you would take the dog out and you'd retake them, and that's what you would post. But if you really think about it, you would say to yourself, I actually love dogs, and I love the pictures that I took with my dogs, and I'm going to keep those pictures. So in one case, it would be sort of a reaction to what somebody else said. And then on the other hand, it would be you thinking about what you actually like, following your heart, and then posting the pictures with the dog in them. So reaction versus action. And yeah, you might say this is a silly example, but I think there are lots of other examples in life that are way more important, where we react instead of act. Maybe you dress a certain way when you go to work or go out or go to school or whatever, because other people dress that way. And you think that if you dress that way, other people are going to like you, when you actually don't like the clothes that you're wearing. Another example might be, you go to get plastic surgery because you want to look like all the pictures in magazines. That's what you see. That's what you think people approve of or what they're attracted to. So you do that, even though having plastic surgery costs a lot of money. It's painful. It can be dangerous, and it turns you into something that you weren't before. But you did it because of outside influence. Maybe you have a job that you actually don't like, but it makes a lot of money, and you think people like you more because you have money, your parents expect you to make more money, and so you do that job even though you actually hate going there every day. Maybe you stay in a relationship that you don't like. You're unhappy in that relationship, but you think that if you leave, the other person's going to be hurt, or their families are going to be hurt, or whatever, but you just stay because of what other people are thinking versus how you actually feel. And I'd say the problem with reacting versus acting in the end is that you're just not happy. Like, you will live your life going day to day, and you'll wonder why you are miserable most of the time. And that's because you're not living based on decisions that you've made, in your head and in your heart to actually follow your path. So that's why I think that reaction needs to be replaced with action, which requires clarity of mind and then is intentional living. That's what I think it actually is. And I do recognize that we don't live in a vacuum. We live in a world with other people. We have to compromise. We can't always do exactly what we want all the time. But I think, especially in today's world, we've just lost touch with even thinking before we do things. We don't act, we react. There's so many outside influences coming at us, and we don't take the time to actually think about things before we do them. And then that's what we do. We react, and then we're miserable and we wonder why. So for me, and like everybody else, we want to be happy. We want to live a fulfilled, content life as much as possible. So then the question is, okay, well, how do we do that? How do we get clarity? How do we, try to not react to things as much as possible and act intentionally? How do you do that? So for me, one of the main ways that I try to do that is reflection. Again, it's an important step and practice that I think a lot of us don't even realize that we should be doing. We don't take time. We don't prioritize doing that. I think that we need to be constantly checking in with, how things are going. What actions did we take? How did it turn out for us? How do we feel about that stuff? Like the reflection of your life on a day-to-day, sometimes moment by moment, and then over time basis is really, really important. You can't know what the next best step is for you without reflecting, I think, and looking back on the steps that you've previously taken in order to make better and more informed steps moving forward. To live intentionally then for me means actually prioritizing the act of reflecting, taking the time to do it, slowing down enough to do it, thinking that it's important, and then actually doing it. If you really think about it, there's nobody in this world who wants a better life for you than you do. And nobody who can know what you really want, what actually makes you happy and brings you joy in life more than you do. And if you don't define what those things are, without listening to what other people are saying to you, without, being influenced by the outside world, then you're not going to make the best decisions for yourself. I also think for a lot of us, including myself, the idea of meditating or practicing an inward gaze is difficult. It is very hard if it isn't something you do. You have to learn how to do that. I also think that there's lots of different ways of reflecting and meditating and going inward. I think that you can utilize all of those different ways at different times in your life in order to be able to live intentionally. I know for myself, some of the ways that I try to gain clarity are if I see things, and I use social media for this, if I see things on social media that make me laugh or smile or just make me feel good in general, I save them into my highlights reel, and then I will watch those things. It is a way for me to meditate on the things that I like. So maybe it's, a pile of puppies or somebody singing or dancing or whatever it happens to be. I save those things and then I re-watch them. And when I re-watch them, I think it really solidifies in your mind that, yeah, you actually like this. You watch things that you like, you think about things that you like, and you're more likely to understand that those are the things that you actually like and that make you happy. Another way that I've found that really helps me to figure out what makes me feel good is just by writing them down. So at the end of the day, if you have a journal or something, think about your day and literally write down 3 things that made you smile that day. Maybe it was, seeing the sunset. Maybe it was, having lunch with your mother or father or sister or child or whatever. It could be anything. So you write them down, you write them down every day, and then after a week, you look back. You can see what those things were. And then over time, you start to see patterns in the things that made you feel good and the things that made you happy. And nobody is influencing you to write down those things. It's just you writing them down. So I think that's a pretty good way to meditate or to even reflect on the things that make you happy. And I think you'll also find it's not things like, maybe it is the gold watch that you got, but most of the time it isn't those things. It's like listening to your brother laugh about something, or making somebody laugh about something, or just running in the rain, or anything, simple things. For me, it's the simple things. I also think that it's important to understand that there are things in your life that may be affecting you or sort of clouding your vision, things that might hold you back from doing things that you really want to do or are interested in doing, but you're afraid to do them. There's been trauma in your life, or you have a fear of something for some reason. You need to recognize that there could be things that have happened to you before. If there are, then you seek help for those things. You try to eliminate fear or the hurt or whatever it was in order that you can actually move forward and do the things that you really want. So now you might say to me, well, Mandy, how does living intentionally have any connection to this channel? It's about, living healthy. Well, to me, and I think it's pretty clear if you really think about it, that being healthy starts in your mind. How your mind functions has a huge impact on your actual physical health. So if you're living in a way that isn't true to what you really want to do and what you really want to be, it will be reflected in your physical biology. And I would highly recommend the book, The Body Keeps the Score, Brain, Mind, and Body in the Healing of Trauma. It's a really important book, and it talks about unhappiness or, mental blocks that then affect your physical health. So that's why I think that starting with intention, clarity, reflection, all of those things is so important to just living a healthy lifestyle. I kind of see it like this, like you're trying to cross the road and it's really foggy and you can't see anything. You can't see the cars, you can't see the lanes, you can't see the traffic lights, you can't see anything, but you're just trying to cross the road. So if that is you living your life without the clarity of the street and the cars and the lights and all of that stuff, what's going to happen? You're going to get hit by a car. That's what's going to happen. And that, I think, is what it is to have clarity and to live intentionally, is to live without the fog being the outside influences of the world around you, people around you, your circumstances, past that may have hurt you or not hurt you. All of those things contribute to there being fog or not being fog. And so the way to lift the fog is to sit down and think about what makes you happy, really happy, and to seek help in removing anything that might impede you living in a way that fosters those things. So you want the fog to go away, and you want to have a clear, path across the street. You can see everything that's coming. So once you know what makes you happy, how do you set up your environment to provide for those things in the easiest way possible? If you have seen the Netflix show, The Blue Zones with Dan Buttner, he talks about the things in the people's lives that live the longest that seem to be sort of across the board, that all of those people have in common. Having a sense of community, people around you that you can interact with that are good influences on you, having a sense of faith in the world and goodness in general, and then I think also in just having a purpose in life, something that you are passionate about, that you actually want to do and be active in doing. So those things, for most people who live a long time, are present in their lives. And so I would say it just makes sense then to set yourself up in a situation where you can access those things. I talked in another video about multi-generational living in close proximity with the people that you really care the most about. It doesn't necessarily have to be like blood family. It could be good friends or, whatever, but having a sense of community that you can easily access, I think is super important for people to thrive. So that's like another way that this ties in to this channel. Living intentionally, but setting yourself up to live in a way that is going to be the best for you. I think it's also very important in the reflection process to be a critical thinker and to look out into the world to see what people are saying and to be able to take in that information and then, assess if it's actually real or not real, true or not true, whether you should buy into it or not. I could talk about the beauty business all day long, and things that, people are trying to sell to other people that are completely unnecessary and making you actually happy. But that's a topic for another video. I do really like the idea of essentialism. An example might be, say, Marie Kondo, who has her show on organizing your house and tidying up your house in order to make you feel better in your space. People would think maybe that is talking minimalism, but to me it's not about minimalism so much as decluttering things that don't matter to you that much. And I like the word essentialism better than minimalism, actually, because there are instances in which, a person can live in a home that has lots of things in it, but that person really loves those things. So I think Marie Kondo's point about living in a way where you take away the things that you don't love and only live with the things that bring you the ultimate joy is very important in your life. And that goes for people, it goes for the stuff in your house, it goes for, the things that you consume online, it goes for all of those things. So essentialism to me is another sort of way to live intentionally, to live in a way that brings you the most happiness. Another book that I would highly, highly recommend is James Clear, his book on atomic habits. And he talks about how to break bad habits and to create good habits. And the thing that really struck me the most about what he said is that it's not about willpower or perseverance in order to do those things. The people who are successful at living their best lives and, doing the things that they really want to do in life have figured out a way to set up their environments so that the actions that they take to get the things that they want and to do the things that they want are the easiest things to do. It's just about creating environments where the healthy choice and the choice that you really want to make is the easiest choice. So I would highly recommend checking out that book. At the same time, I think it's really important that we are compassionate with ourselves. The world we live in is so crazy. There's so many things happening. It's so busy that I think you need to be compassionate with yourself, in that if you can't always find the time to reflect, or you can't slow down in a moment, that you don't beat yourself up over it. That's just one other thing that you could be upset with yourself about. But the more upset you get about something, the less likely you're going to do it, and then it's just this downward spiral. So I think that if you know that reflecting and setting up your environment so that you can make the best choices possible is the way to go, then practicing that in the smallest steps possible at any given time is good enough. Like, that should be good enough, and that's what you should strive to do. And if you start taking baby steps in any way to do that, it will create a positive feedback loop for you, and then you will do it more and more and more, and then you will find yourself living in a way that is in accordance to what you actually want out of life. I think there is another thing that's really important in cultivating a life of intention for yourself, and to cultivate success and have the best life that you want, if you think in terms of the book The Secret. And that is in believing that what you want, that you actually can have it, but actually already have it. You have to live in a way that you have the mindset that you already have the life that you dream about. And then you'll just get it. But that's the topic for another video as well. So stay tuned.